I've got some encouraging news, happy news. It's been a while since I've been able to say that. One of our crowdfunded lawsuits against vaccine mandates has had some success. We're not out of the woods yet, but it's a breakthrough. Here's the story. 2 months ago, we took the case of an Air Canada flight attendant who was being forced to get the vaccine, even though she already had caught COVID and recovered from it fully. And so she had natural immunity, and she had a doctor's note confirming that her natural immunity was equivalent to taking a vaccine. In fact, just yesterday, Anthony Fauci's CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, they confirmed for the first time that they are unaware of a single case where a person with natural immunity like this had ever transmitted the virus to another person, which is something that vaccinated people actually can still do. Bill Gates admitted the same just this last week.
So it was 2015 that I gave the TED Talk and wrote a number of papers titled "We're Not Ready for the Next Pandemic." And sadly, that was a better forecast of what would happen than anyone would have wished for. You know, the economic damage, the deaths, it's been completely horrific. And I would expect that will lead the R&D budgets to be focused on things we didn't have today. You know, we didn't have vaccines that block transmission. We got vaccines that help you with your health, but they only slightly reduce the transmissions. We need a new way of doing the vaccine.
So this Air Canada flight attendant was being forced by Air Canada to get the jab despite being naturally immune. They were going to fire her if she didn't. So we wanted to help her, but the thing is, most Air Canada workers are part of a union. And the whole idea of collective bargaining, as it's called, is that any quarrel you have with the company has to be done through the union. In this case, the union representing this Air Canada flight attendant was CUPE, which stands for the Canadian Union of Public Employees. And CUPE just refused. They refused to help this flight attendant, who is their own union member. I can't think of anything more important for a union to do than to protect its members from the company bosses just deciding one day to force them to undergo a medical procedure, an injection against their will. That wasn't part of the collective agreement. That wasn't part of the contract. Why would the union simply roll over and allow the corporation to change its contract unilaterally? Whose side are they on? Isn't protecting the health, privacy, and bodily integrity of its members more important than any other issues they fight over? Even more important than wages, really. But the union literally would not. It's like this one union leader here said when he raised the same issue about the GM union selling out its members.
So a long time ago, a union rep said something to me that was very profound. He said, if the union and the company are saying the same thing, one of them is not necessary.
Yeah, he's exactly right. So what can you do when you have a company union, a yellow union that's actually taking the side of the bosses? Well, you sue the union to get them to do their job. You pay them union dues. They represent you. Make them do so. So we helped this Air Canada flight attendant, and we crowdfunded 3 excellent lawyers at 2 law firms to go to battle against the union to compel them to file a grievance on her behalf. You can see a copy of some of the documents, including the very first letter we filed, on a special website we set up for this case called aircanadalawsuit.com. Read the first letter, the opening salvo. It's only 5 pages, and it's in plain English, although it does refer to some legal technicalities. Let me read a bit of it to you. I found it very bracing to hear the case made for this flight attendant. This is what the union should have been saying from the beginning, but they refused. Here's an excerpt from the letter from the lawyer. It is surprising that CUPE would permit such an intrusion at all, but specifically through the Air Canada press release policy. Given the apparent abdication, there may also be issues of bad faith representation by cooperating with Air Canada in this conduct. Whatever the reason, CUPE has facilitated Air Canada's efforts to violate members' health, safety, privacy, and employment rights. This is antithetical to CUPE's statutorily mandated role under the Canadian Labour Code. Exactly. Let me read just one more passage from this demand letter. I really recommend you read the whole thing. It's only 5 pages long. Go to aircanadalawsuit.com, especially if you're an Air Canada employee or know someone who is. You got to know your rights. Let me read a little more from this first letter. CUPE's apparent breach of the duty is further illustrated by the jurisprudence deciding the extent of this legal requirement. The requirement to investigate grievable matters and reasonably pursue them is a key element of CUPE's duty. Given that a bargaining union member does not have an absolute right to have a grievance referred to arbitration, CUPE must show that, 1, CUPE did not merely conduct a perfunctory or cursory review of the matter. The review must be thorough. 2, CUPE gathered sufficient information to arrive at a sound decision. 3, CUPE demonstrates that there are no personality conflicts, bad relations, or other matters that could affect the soundness of its decision. My point is, the letter ferociously fought for the workers' rights, something the union was supposed to do. Isn't it funny? You know, people call me a right-wing guy, and I guess in many ways I am, and yet here we are crowdfunding for union members to get a stronger union to take the side of the working people against the big monopoly corporations. And where are the so-called leftists who say they care about working people, about personal privacy, about people who always say, my body, my choice? Where are they now? It's an upside-down world. But I know who I stand with. I stand with this flight attendant. So you can see that 5-page letter that we sent to the union on September 14th, and they went back and forth with the law firms. They tried to brush it off. They tried to rag the puck, slow walk this whole thing so that many more workers would just collapse under pressure. And I think that's part of the strategy here by the other side. Ratchet up the pressure, delay, so people just collapse and panic and just give up and give in. But the lawyers went back and forth, and then the lawyers that we crowdfunded for this flight attendant did something that they promised they would do. They took the CUPE union to the Industrial Relations Board. They literally sued the union bosses on behalf of the union members for refusing to represent this flight attendant. And then last night, the incredible thing happened. The union blinked. They agreed. They agreed to take the grievance on behalf of this Air Canada flight attendant. For months, CUPE was like Unifor, a yellow union, company union, absolutely in bed with the bosses, absolutely ignoring the working people. And what are you going to do about it, you little worker? What are you going to do? Well, good point. Because what Air Canada worker on her own could possibly spend tens of thousands of dollars to hire 3 Top Gun lawyers to fight back for her? Well, this flight attendant obviously didn't have the money, but you did. You, our viewers, did. You got her the lawyers she needed, and CUPE bloody well blinked. If you go to aircanadalawsuit.com, you can see the 344-page filing that our crack lawyers filed against the union at the Industrial Relations Board on behalf of this flight attendant. Again, you'll see the personal name and other personal details of the flight attendant blacked out to protect her privacy. But that's what did it. Now, there's still risks here, first of all, and I'm a bit nervous. So I'm thinking, okay, boy, they sure fought hard against this. Maybe they're doing it grudgingly. Maybe they're just phoning it in, like a boxing match where one of the fighters throws the fight. Maybe, could be. And then, of course, grieving a new company rule doesn't necessarily mean you're going to beat it. Even if CUPE does fight hard and fight smart and shows loyalty to its own members for a change, maybe the grievance won't be successful. Maybe it won't be upheld. But what we have here, I believe, is an actual victory. And it happened because of the lawyers, and it happened because of a courageous flight attendant. But the missing piece was you. You paid for the legal work. And you can see that work, or at least some of it, at aircanadalawsuit.com. Note that we haven't put all of the legal documents up there, but some key ones. So thank you to those of you who crowdfunded this. We have a bunch of other cases underway in different stages in the courts and direct with companies. We've had some luck with other companies so far, including CN Rail. You can see most of the cases we're fighting at the website fightvaccinepassports.com. From hockey leagues to the province of British Columbia, we're suing them over the vaccine passport. If you haven't had a chance to chip in yet, please do. Last night's big win at Air Canada gives me some hope. And let me say the message to any other Air Canada staff out there who are concerned about this issue. Go to aircanadalawsuit.com, read the legal materials for yourself, and if you are in a similar position, there's a form there. Fill out the form, give us your name, we'll take a look at your case, and we'll help you if we can. And I have an idea where we'll hold an Air Canada Zoom town hall meeting, where anyone at Air Canada who's worried can join, and we'll have speakers. We'll have the lawyers who represented this flight attendant. They'll come on and explain the case and answer questions. And then we'll have some other keynote speakers, and we'll give help to people at Air Canada who want to fight back. But the battle is far from over, but it's definitely begun. Stay with me. After the break, we'll talk to Matthew McDonald, one of the key labor lawyers responsible for last night's win. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.